Well, hello, Viva Birdos. JP Hill here again for another VEB podcast, this time with another special guest from our minor league system, a rising prospect, currently in AA. He's made his way all the way from single A to AA in just his second year in the minor leagues. Victor Scott II is with us, stolen base master and contact hitter extraordinaire, also an extremely talented defender. How's it going, Victor?
Everything's going well, man. I can't complain. Just glad to be out here. Glad to be representing the Cardinals organization and my family. So can't complain at all.
Yeah. Now you're with AA Springfield right now. You guys are in Wichita. How's the season going for the Springfield Cardinals right now?
It's going pretty good. We're just below 500, so I think we are 56 and 54. But making a playoff push right now, so trying to kind of nudge our way in there.
Yeah. Well, first thing I like to do with these interviews is just kind of give you a chance to introduce yourself to our readers. Most of our readers and fans will know of you by now, but they might not know your skills, your talents, what you do, things like that. So just tell us a little bit about what you do, what your position is, how you play, your style, things like that.
So, hey everyone, my name is Victor, as introduced, but I'm a center fielder. I'm a speed guy, trying to hit for contact. Can run into it, every once in a while. But my goal is just to kind of set the table for those guys behind me. So if I can get on base and create as much havoc as possible, that's my goal. Is at the end of the day. So that's kind of like who I am, my style of play, kind of in that Vince Coleman, Willie McGee, Bernard Gilkey era is kind of like what I'm trying to bring back to like the Cardinals organization, and definitely display it in the big leagues.
You just made a lot of people happy by mentioning all three of those guys. So yeah, we'll get to some of that later because there was a couple fan questions about who you model your game on, but we'll get to that here in a minute. I've got to ask you though. Right now on the season, you've got 75 stolen bases in 104 games. So what happened the other 29 games that you didn't have a steal in all 104 games? I mean, were you not feeling very well that day, or did something go wrong? Or
Nah, it's just kind of how baseball works. I don't normally try to get too greedy, and then plus, I kind of got to read like the situations. Because they just don't want me like stealing when we're up like a certain amount of runs or if we're down a certain amount of runs. So just kind of like reading the situations, and then also baseball happens, so I might run into like a rough patch, which I actually am in right now. Hopefully I get out of it. But where you don't find that ball doesn't find the grass or doesn't find the green. So you just kind of got to roll with the punches and then be able to get them when you can, essentially.
Yeah. Adam, feel free to jump in here at any time. But Victor, one more question along those lines. Is there certain things that you look for? You get on base, you're up there at minor leagues. Is there something you're looking for from a catcher or pitcher that you're going every time?
Normally I always steal off of the pitcher. So I'll look at film prior to like the game and kind of pick up tendencies. If the guy is normally like a 1-3 or a 1-4, then I'll just like straight steal. But like normally where you kind of run into like those problems if a pitcher's like slide step into the plate or it has like a quicker time. So like you're looking at like 1-0s or 1-1s are like really, really quick, and guys at the AA level can catch and throw pretty well.
Yeah.
So I kind of try to look for tendencies on film. Like, does he move his elbow before he picks up his leg, or does he kind of like put more weight on his backside before he pitches, to try to kind of give me like that extra edge and that like a better first kind of a jump deal. So if I can get that jump on him, then the catcher almost has like no chance. So that's kind of like my whole deal is just kind of watching film and seeing what that pitcher has to offer before I even get out there.
Now, Victor, quick question here. So we had Mike Antico on a while back on the podcast, and one of the questions I asked him is like, we got the new rule changes with being able to steal bases, and it's a lot easier this year, both in the majors and the minors. I mean, either way, you're gonna get you're gonna eat no matter what. But I wanted to know from you specifically, how much of a difference has that made, like, night and day, or is it just little because that's the biggest part of your game anyway? So I kind of wanted to hear from you.
Yeah, so kind of like already kind of alluding to what you just said, it's a big part of my game, but it does help having the pitch clock. It helps games kind of flow by a little bit, and then the bigger bases. I haven't really realized the difference in that yet, but I mean, it's been a couple times where it's been like a bang bang play, so I can probably attribute 15 bags to where it's like been like bang bang, and I'm like, wow, I could have been out right there if the bases wasn't bigger. But like the pickoff rules, those those kind of come. They were definitely in like a big factor in high ball, because a lot of teams would use like two of their pickoff attempts, and then at that point you're almost like free will to run, no matter how fast that guy is to the plate. But yeah, those in double A, it's a little different with like the pickoff attempts. They normally only use like one, and then like guys that are real conscious will use two. But other than that, I haven't had anybody pick off three times. So high A was the only time that happened, and it was like the most confusing thing ever, because I was like, man, like what are we doing? Like he picked off, and I ended up like I was like running on the third one. So like as soon as he picked off, like I was just like, oh well. All right, I guess you got me because you picked off a third time, but that doesn't normally happen too much.
I mean, isn't there a rule about throwing over the number of times you can throw over now? Like what is that rule?
Yeah, so if you don't get the guy on the third time, then it's like basically like a balk, quote unquote. So he just gets to go to second or third.
Yeah. And does that happen to you? Have you gotten to take a base because of that yet?
I have. We were playing the Timber Rattlers in high A, and then on Tuesday it was a pitcher who I got on against my first at bat, and he picked off two times in a row, and then I was like, okay, surely he's about to pitch on this one, and then like I stole, and then he picked off again, and then ended up like getting me out in like a rundown, and then on Sunday we faced the same guy, and I got on again, and he did the exact same thing. So I just stayed at first, and then sure enough, he picked off the third time, and I was just still there, and then I got the next base. So yeah, that's the only time that has happened. So it's pretty rare, but has happened before, sure.
Yeah.
It's going to get easier in the big leagues because I think that you can only throw over twice as a pitcher in the majors, if I'm not mistaken. Or is it three?
I think it's still three, but normally pitchers just pick off twice against like those speed guys to try to get them off balance.
Okay, my bad.
Yeah. So you've moved from A ball to double A, drafted in 2022, if I remember right. I've got your Fangraphs page up here. I should look before I can. Yeah, drafted in 2022, fifth round, 21st pick out of West Virginia. And now you're all the way in double A. That's a pretty fast move. What's been your biggest challenge going from A ball, first of all, from college to A ball, and then from A plus all the way to double A in amounts to, basically 365 days?
So I would definitely say like the game has gotten easier the further I have moved up, as odd as that sounds.
Yeah.
I know like when I first got drafted, kind of like learning my swing was like the biggest like difficulty I had in college. So like I never felt like I was at my ceiling in college. I was just kind of performing athletically, and hopefully it'll work on the field. But that ended up my athleticism and the numbers I did put up helped me get to like the fifth round to kind of be able to get in the door. So getting here and in low A, I know a lot of guys have like great stuff, but they don't really like have the command to go with it. So you can't necessarily like look over the plate, or you might get hit in the leg, or a ball might be in the other batter's box. So that's kind of like difficult to adjust your sights and be able to like not just like look over the plate, but you're also kind of worried about like getting hit by a curveball or fastball. So then as you move up to high A, guys kind of start to figure out like their command a little bit more, but they're not necessarily like around the zone as much. And then moving up to double A, guys are better with command and they have better stuff. So with that being said, it's just a little bit easier. Like as for me as a contact guy, I just swing at strikes, put the ball in play, and then hopefully it all works out. So kind of like moving up, that was like my whole objective is just to put the ball in play and use my speed to get on. And I mean it's been kind of easy moving forward. It's just like I said, pitchers are around the zone a lot more. You can put the ball in play and then kind of just use my wheels to get on. So it's kind of been the jump for me.
Yeah, that's showing up in your stats too a little bit. I'll probably try to post this in at least in the article on the site, but there's more to the game than just batting average. But 222 batting average last year in A ball, you're up to 282 in A plus and 301 now. So I mean, your contact ability is showing up as you progress.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Sure. Now, is there a certain type of pitch as you've advanced and command's gotten better and breaking balls have gotten better, certain kind of pitch that you feel like you're still struggling with and one that you feel like is your best pitch that you're looking for?
As of late, I've been struggling with hitting like the inside breaking ball because I'm kind of like over the plate a little bit. But fastballs are kind of like my strong suit, I would say. But definitely like the inside like back foot slider that is thrown like really like without. Oh my bad, sorry about that. There we go. Sorry about that.
No problem.
But like kind of getting to those pitches is definitely something like I want to work on in the off season to come for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Victor, another question here. So you've got a lot of your skill set's very broad and you got a lot of things that you're good at. But what do you think is the biggest thing you got to work on going forward? I know you mentioned you can run into one a few times, but this is a game based on power. So what do you think that that is something that I feel that you do have a couple of home runs, but how much do you think you can be able to add into that as your career progresses?
Yeah, I feel like it's just like kind of growing into my frame more and more, and we're like getting stronger with like the swing I have now. Because like with contact guys, the question is always like how many homers or extra base hits is he going to hit? Because that's what everybody is like wanting to see. But I just feel like as I progress, it's just going to be like strength within my swing, the strength at contact, because that's what kind of gets you those extra base hits. And then, of course, I'll still have like the speed element to the game, which is like my primary facet. So it'll be able to be a good blend, a good combination.
Yeah. We had the same kind of talk with Mike and Tico here earlier. You're not a small guy. I mean, we've seen some speedsters come up over the years that couldn't hit home runs if they wanted to. They just don't have the strength. But I mean, Fangraphs lists you, not to get into it too much, but 5'10", 190. There's some strength and bulk there, and more to be gained.
Yeah, for sure. It's just like actually we were having a kind of a quick little story. We were having like a home run derby in South Bend, and I added like a leg kick to my swing just to kind of fool around and just have fun. And I was like hitting balls like out with ease, but it's like I can do it, but like it doesn't play in the games. So that's kind of like what I'd rather hit for contact than hit for power, because strikeout numbers kind of go up a little bit more when you start hitting for power, especially when you're trying to lift the ball. So I just more or less try to hit for contact and line drives.
Because you can't steal a base if you strike out, but
yeah,
your BABIP at 352. I mean, putting the ball in play with your speed, you got a pretty good chance of beating out even balls on the infield.
Yeah, for sure. I just like I said, just try to put the ball in play and hopefully wish for the best at that point.
Yeah. Well, I want to ask you about your defense a little bit, because that's a part of the game that you have that hasn't been talked about a lot. It's starting to show up in highlights on Twitter and other places. But just you play center field primarily. I know Mike and Tico's also out there. Have you been playing center exclusively, or are you guys switching off a little bit? What's the current playing time alignment?
Yeah, so I've actually been playing center 5 days a week. I think me and Mike both play 5 days a week, and he's been in left or right. So And then on my day that I have off, he moves to center. And then, but yeah, normally I just play strictly center field. So
Yeah, yeah.
mhm.
So we've seen some pretty impressive stuff. Adam, I don't know if you've seen some of the highlights, but it's not just speed, but also ability with the ball. Do you feel like that you're a Gold Glove caliber defender when you reach the majors?
Yeah, most definitely, most
Yeah.
definitely. It's always been kind of like a dream of mine is just to kind of play like Andrew McCutcheon, like in his when he was like in his prime. Um, but just kind of being like that kind of athlete out there and just tracking down things, making it look easy in a sense. So um, just definitely trying to be as great as a help to my pitcher as possible.
Yeah.
Oh.
So what do you need to, at this point, what do you need to work on in the field in order to get to that level? We've seen the highlights, we know the speed, but is there any part of that game that still needs to develop?
Yeah, I would just say reading swings is still like a part of the game I want to develop, and especially in center field and being able to communicate with off outfielders and move them into appropriate places. With like the swing decisions, with the swing, is he late? Is he early? Kind of still like that primary piece. Um, but of course, that just comes with repetition at that point. So just continuing to be out there and get repetitions and wanting to do better at that, I feel like that's going to continue to develop as I progress my career.
Yeah.
I had
Adam.
a question. I had a question, but I totally blanked on it. So if you want to keep going with the regular list.
Okay. Well, I've got to do this because we asked Mike Antico and he had some answers and we asked Mike specifically about you. Now back then, I can't remember when we had Mike on. I'm not sure if you had even made it to double A yet. So I've got to know, when I asked Mike who was faster, you or him, he waffled a little bit. Now I did ask I asked whether he was faster than Tyler O'Neill and Tommy Edman, and he said yes and yes and yes and yes. He got to you and he waffled. So who's faster, you or Mike Antico?
You know, I'm gonna say I'll say this.
You can
I believe
answer
I'm
yourself, Victor. It's okay. Mike knows. I think Mike knows.
Mike is a great base stealer,
Yeah,
but I feel like I'm faster than Mike. But Mike is a really, really good base stealer.
yeah,
So he has like a lot of like great technique that he utilizes on the base paths, which I've been honestly picking his mind about to try to figure out like, okay, what exactly, how are you getting like this good of a jump? He slides like the same part of the bag each time. So like, how is he doing that? So I kind of been picking his mind about that, but I do believe I am faster. But he don't get me wrong, Mike is super fast, and he's a better right now. I feel like he's a better base stealer than I am because he has a lot of good technique and he knows exactly how to steal bases properly.
yeah.
So I feel like in that sense, I have to give credit to him. He's a better base stealer than I am. I do believe though I am faster.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I've noticed a little bit now. I'd have to have Mike back on, but I noticed that you're running a ton. Mike isn't running quite as much as he did last year. With both of you guys in the lineup, is there some give and take there, or you both just kind of have the green light whenever you can go?
Yeah, we both just kind of have like the green light, but like I asked my friend who's a pitcher on the Missions, San like Padres affiliated Double A, and I asked him. We went out to breakfast one day, and he said he was like, "Yeah, our goal is to not let y'all two run at all."
Yeah,
So he was like, "Whatever we can do to limit y'all from stealing bases, that's exactly what we're gonna do." So rather that be a slide step to a pitch out or a high leg kick to a pitch out, like they were pretty adamant on not letting us run. So
yeah.
I can understand why it's a little difficult for
He
sure.
kind of said that too when we had him on, that it was getting tougher this year because people were really watching out for him and not, he didn't have just that ability just to go whenever he wanted to, that they were keeping an eye on him a lot. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it gets harder as you go. Adam, did
For
you think of
sure.
your question?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna ask. I mean, we talked about some of the guys internally that you're probably arguably the fastest guy and probably the best center field defender in the organization, right? Like we've got a guy like Lars Nootbaar in the majors, but I'd like to think that you're probably better at reacting and reading out there, at least at this age right now, especially. But just purely speaking from, I guess a base running perspective, there's not many faster guys out there in the minors. So have you have you like lined it up like not a 40, but maybe a 60 time with any of the guys like from other teams? Like, how do you rank? Like, there's not many faster guys than you in Major League Baseball, period. So like, have you like had like a foot race with anyone? Like, just kind of curious. Like, have you like won? Like, who have you beat? Who have you lost to that you want to be able to beat at some point? Just kind of get an idea of like your true speed before you actually get to the majors.
So it's actually pretty it's actually a pretty good question. The guy who's leading in stolen bases right now, Chandler Simpson, is actually my best friend. So we have like a little friendly competition going on, like who is going to steal is like who is going to get to 100 stolen bases first, and but that's actually a really good question because I wanted to dive into this like with other podcasts and other interviews, but it's a really good question. So back in 2021, we that's like when we met. We were mutual friends through like for a couple of years, and then we finally like met in 2021 in the Northwoods League. So we always like kind of asked ourselves like who's faster. He would bat lead off and I would bat two home, and we would just double steal and steal a lot of bases all the time. And then one day we had like a foot race and we tied, and that's the only person I've ever tied. And I was like, what? This is so abnormal. I'm like, no way, no way. So then, like, we come back home and like, cause we're from like the same part of Atlanta, and then we end up training together too. So we're always like competing in that sense. And then we end up having like another foot race, and then we tied again. So I was like, I think this guy is like the only person who I've ever tied in a race with. So he's pretty fast.
You got to bring up.
He's pretty fast.
Yeah. Go ahead, Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say you got to bring out the electronic markers to see who's like, it's probably a tie, but I feel like if you brought it out and you saw specifically, that you probably can tell. But for sure, man.
What I was saying is that maybe you've just reached. That's it. Like no one else can be faster. It's just you two right there, and no human being can ever be faster than you two. You've reached the end of human limits, maybe.
No, my dad, he claims that he was faster than me in his prime because he's a big track guy, and then he also was like a wide receiver in football. So, but I always like say like I'm faster than him, but I got to get it from somewhere. So both my mom and my dad ran track. So
yeah, great.
Did you do any other sports in high school too? Like, were you also like a track runner? Or?
So track and baseball were at the same time. They were at the same time, like during the spring. So I actually played basketball, and then I played football for a year when I was younger. But in high school, I played baseball and basketball. So basketball for 2 years, and then baseball throughout the rest of high school.
Yeah.
Well, hey, we've got a couple more questions here, but I'd love to just skip over those and let's just go straight to the reader questions because we had some really good ones. And so this one, I know what the answer is going to be, but I'd still love to see this from Leganate 11. Can you and Antico cover the whole outfield by yourselves? Could you?
Potentially. If I played right center and he played left center, I'm pretty sure that we could cover the whole outfield.
Yeah, I would love to see that. That would be that'd be a game worth watching.
Yeah, no, that'd be crazy.
Yeah.
Victor, if you real quick, if you steal 100 bases, can you do the Wilt Chamberlain sign with the 100 and post it for the Springfield account? You got to do that.
Yeah, I might just have to do that.
Yeah,
I might just have to do that.
How many games do you guys have left? I didn't look at the schedule to know.
I think we play 138.
Yeah.
So I think if I had to steal 100 bases, I have 25 left. I think I would have to steal a base every game from like here on out.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. By the way, Billy Hamilton's minor league record in one season, I think, is 155. So I hope you never have a chance to. You're not going to catch that this year, and I hope you don't have a chance to next year because you don't stay in the minors long enough to do it. But just to let you know, 155 is a target that you probably don't want to hit, but it's there anyway. So
awesome. Yeah. That's a crazy number.
It is a crazy number. Yeah. He was pretty impressive. Okay, here's from Cards Rule. You mentioned this earlier and gotta ask it. Cards Rule. The Cardinals have a great legacy of stolen base artists. Anyone that has inspired you or influenced you?
as of late, it's been Vince Coleman.
Yeah.
I've been watching. I was actually watching him as soon as I got drafted by the Cardinals, and then my dad knew of him as he watched him playing. And then I got to meet him at the Futures game, which was unbelievable. It was a great experience. And then kind of like now to this day, I still keep in contact with him and like send him videos of like when I steal, he gives me like feedback, like, hey, look, you can look for this tendency, or you can get a better first 3 steps here. So that's been really, really great. Also talking to Willie McGee during spring training helped me out a ton too. So
Yeah. Has Vince Coleman given you any advice about staying away from tarps at all? Has that come up?
nah, he hasn't gave me any advice on that, but I definitely saw it.
Yeah, yeah. It's not a very deep cut, but a lot of our listeners will know that. Let's see here. One that we haven't gotten to yet. Mark of OKC asks, have you been given a nickname from teammates, and if so, what is it, and how did it come about?
So Tink Hintz actually gave me the name Swiper. So I've gotten that, and then MILB gave me the nickname of Man of Steel, I think. So um, the Swiper came about. I think we were in Peoria, and I stole like 3 bases in a game, I believe. And then I came back in the dugout like after I stole, and then Tink was like, he was like, I think he was like saying like, "Hey, Swiper," and he just kept saying it, and then everybody started calling me that, and I was like, "Yeah, this is crazy." So yeah, that's kind of like the origin story of the Swiper.
Yeah. Yeah. As the father of children, my immediate thought goes to Dora the Explorer. Swiper knows nothing. So I don't know that Tink, maybe Tink's young enough these days. Yeah, it wasn't been that long ago that he was watching Dora the Explorer, but yeah, that's a good one. That's good. Let's see here. From District of Cardinals, who are some other players in the system that you've leaned on as you've progressed?
Let's see. So I talked to Antico a lot, and then I talked to Nathan Church a lot too. Antico more about like the base stealing, and then me and Nathan are both contact guys, so we talk about like the plan that we kind of have at the plate. I talk to him pretty frequent, so we'll talk about that, or like how our day went, and like what could we improve upon. So kind of having like those relationships definitely, I feel like helps the season go by a little bit quicker, and you don't feel alone in the whole process. So
Yeah.
So, Victor, I'm also kind of curious, just kind of going off of that question. I would like to know just some of the best coaching minds in the Cardinals system. So you've been already through part of the minor leagues already, and you hopefully may have to play at Memphis. Maybe you might not. But what would that mean? Like, who has been the best coach so far to you? Like going up to the minor leagues, like who have you found to be the best influence on you?
I actually have a few, but my number one is probably Casey Chenoweth. He's the hitting coach in Peoria.
Mhm.
We just kind of had like a different like kind of like relationship. He would go bowling with me too, so I thought that was pretty cool. But he knows like a lot about the game, and gave me a lot of insight to kind of dealing with like the mental aspect of the game too, like as a hitter, because like as a contact guy, sometimes it's just not gonna fall for you. Like that's kind of like the rut I'm in right now. And I remember calling him. I called him on Monday on the off day, and he kind of just told me, keep swinging it. It's gonna fall eventually. So that's a guy I definitely leaned on coaching wise, as well as Patrick Anderson has helped me out a lot too. He's helped me out like a lot with like stealing bases and getting good jumps. And then also now in Double A, Jose Laher, he's helped me out a lot too. Just being on the bases and getting good jumps.
Good. Got a question about catchers. I know that. Actually, Adam, you might think about muting. I just got your text. In fact, I can. Yeah, there you go. I bet that'll help. Yeah, there's a little bit of feedback. So I asked Mike this question too. So I thought I'd ask you. any catchers that you know that you won't run against, and is Pedro Pages one of them?
Yeah, Pedro actually threw out like 2 guys yesterday. It was unbelievable. But actually, I don't know. I normally only steal them on the on the pitchers.
On the pitcher, yeah.
But sometimes catchers will have a good arm. But Pedro, I don't know. It'll be kind of fun to test the waters against Pedro a little bit. He's got a good arm. So.
Yeah. That's what Mike said. So one more here, then we're gonna let you go. We got Adam back, or he's joining in here in a sec. Let's see here. Okay, here's the one I got to end with. From Edward Ackelbar. Now, he was joking, but this is serious stuff. This is the most serious question we're going to ask you today, and we need to know, Victor, is a hot dog a sandwich?
I never thought as a hot dog as a sandwich. So I don't think it's a sandwich.
Why not? I got to hear your logic here. It's got bread, it's got meat. You can put cheese on it, condiments. You put it between. It's sandwich shape.
I don't know. I think a hot dog is just like in its own category. It's got to be in its own category, right? I mean, I know people probably have like a different opinion, but
there's a lot of people that have a lot of opinions about this. Yeah,
but
so
like Broadsworth, they got to be in there. Broadsworth hot dog, they got to be in like their own separate category. In my opinion.
Okay, so we're gonna follow you in the no category. I think maybe we should start doing this every time we have one of you guys on. We're just gonna get a list of no's and yeses, and maybe we'll run a statistical analysis, Adam, on whether there is a correlation between MLB success and whether you believe a hot dog is a sandwich or not. I think there probably will be a correlation there.
Potentially.
Yeah. Hey, Adam, you got anything else for Victor before we let him go?
No, man, this was a great conversation. Anything else you wanted to ask?
No, I'm good. Victor, thanks a lot, man. Great luck to you guys there in Wichita. And we'll be keeping track of you. And hopefully we'll get to have you on again this winter or next year before you get to the majors.
Awesome. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Have a great day.